Well, I was going to take the EGR pipe off, 27 millimeter, but as soon as I tried to, this basically started falling off. I don't know how secure this was to that side. So here's the first look. And we got some cleaning to do. Here, get you a little closer. Boy, that stuff is funky. It can't be wide open, is it? Something's got to be hitting. Anyway, looking inside, it's really not that bad inside. I figured it'd be a little worse, but I guess it's only got, 80,000 miles on the car maybe. So we'll get these off, go through those, and just give this whole thing a good thorough once over cleaning. This is some old school stuff. It's about time I get to use this. It's been sitting around for about 25 years. So yeah, we'll see how well it works on a Mercedes throttle body. Well, you get the idea. Orientation. So the clamps, direct opposite, and really close on that side, including the bottom clamp. Okay. That makes it make a little more sense. And after, just this, it feels beautiful. I know it doesn't look so good, but there's nothing on there. And my very informal method of checking for levelness. I mean, there is no gap anywhere in the middle. It's slightly dragging everywhere. But anyway, there's one down. And that's what it looked like. Very rough, scuzzy, sticky, bumpy. So here I'm just looking to see what the actual orientation is of all of these steel lines going to the fuel injectors. Very specific angles and such, getting the right lines back in the right place after I clean this whole thing up. So that's the highlight here. All right, so today I'm going to try to get some of this stuff put back together. However, the problem I'm having now, even though I drove this car into the garage not even 2 months ago, this plunger is as stuck as you can get. No amount of twisting and pulling on it without destroying it seems to be freeing it up. So I've got some penetrant sitting on it now. I'm going to let it sit for, I don't know, probably the day. And we'll try to worry about getting that thing loosened up a little bit later. So hopefully that will resolve itself. But there was a lot of staining on the aluminum, and I don't have one of those fancy Vulcan or Vixen machines to get all this stuff cleaned off. So I put a very light coat of metallic on it, and I was absolutely surprised on how much garbage was actually in here. I did not expect that. So I scoured this thing out pretty well. All the passages opened up, even all the internals. in here were really gummed up, just running very rich. So we've got it now pretty solidly cleaned everywhere. I put the new hose on. This thing feels amazing. No more ugly big ass clamp. You don't even need a clamp now. That's kind of amazing. All the metal lines may not look like it's organized, but it is organized right now, exactly how it goes. It's going to go back together on the distributor once I get this thing fixed. So right now, this is just going to be a light reassembly to get these pieces working again. So it's all back together. It's really obviously important to make sure you get all 8 of those O-rings on there correctly, or you will have an air leak. I just put the new boot in, and you got to make sure you get it aligned correctly, because when you take it off, pay attention, you do have a deeper section, and it's going to go in towards the back of the engine, and it's got to align perfectly in there. It's got to go all the way down, and it gets seated, as you see the inside of the old one, well in there. So I took the bottom O-ring off. I'm going to clean it up, put a little color on it, and then I'll just feed this through and put it on afterwards. It made stretching it go a lot easier, because this is very pliable, unlike the old one, which is not pliable. So that's what I did. That's what seemed to work, and it looks like it's in fully seated. And voila, another step closer to hearing this baby run. So I think we're getting there. Steps in the right direction, all good things. However, we are going to get the 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to mess with this until tomorrow. I don't feel like trying to shuffle this thing around. So I'm not at my home workshop. I am actually at work, and I forgot my bolts. So I'm going to leave this alone for the night. Clean up a couple of loose ends. I'm going to continue to let that soak overnight. Probably it's not going to do anything, or it'll fall apart in my hand tomorrow. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But I might put a little bit of color on this just to give it a little bit of protection, although I hate actually doing that. But it needs a little bit of protection. It was turning all rusty earlier, so I wire wheeled it and cleaned it off a little bit. I might pull this out and check the filter inside there, but I think I did all of that when I rebuilt this 2 years ago. So, and someone had told me this is just a port you can connect your fuel pressure regulator or fuel pressure gauge to if you were doing any fuel checks on this system, which I have not done yet, and I would probably venture to do such a thing now that I have all of my air leaks allegedly sealed up. So we'll go through, triple check again for the 3rd time. What is that? What is a triple check times 3? I don't know. So we'll go through and make sure we get all these little loose ends sorted out. So this is how it's supposed to move, that easy. And that thing is the plunger, which sits right in here. And there's a little spring underneath that, which is supposed to let this come back up. I've already taken up the outer collar, the lock ring, and the lock nut on that. But if you ever do this, be very, very careful. Do not drop this. This pin is actually about this long. perspective. About that long. It goes all the way to the other end of this thing. And if you nick this, mar it up, do anything to it, this whole assembly is basically garbage. So be very, very careful, because when you do take this collar off, this should just fall out in your hand. So anyway, I think that's going to be a wrap for today. We'll get on with more of this tomorrow. Oh my God, guys, I think I just got it to start moving. She's finally starting to wiggle. Yep, she's coming. Holy shit, finally. Oh gosh, there it is. This is why you should put ethanol free in cars you don't drive very often. What a pain in the ass that is. That is the tightest I think I've ever had a vice grip. But be very, very careful with these things. One nick or ding in this entire assembly is garbage. I'm gonna have to get all of this funk. Oh gosh, you can feel it, just sticky, tacky crap everywhere on it. Oh Lord, that is quite the smell. Ooh, I drove this car into my garage 2 months ago, and now this thing smells like gas that's been sitting in a tank for 10 years. It is just fetid. A mouse has been living under a pile of leaves stuck in your headliner. Ugh. But money, I am so happy. Got it out. And one more video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, again. Take a picture, it'll last longer. So, finally back on the Mercedes block. I'm going to try to get the water pump put back in, and then I'm going to lift the engine and pull the oil pan off and get the oil pan gasket replaced on it while it's out of the car. And just one of those 600,000 other things that you need to do while you're in there. Kind of, yeah, this car's loaded with that. I guess after almost 50 years, it's got a right to be. So I took all of this off, cleaned it all off, prepped the surface. I'll wipe it down one more time with some brake cleaner. There's a new pump. It's a Graph, and it is a rebuild, of course. Everything else on the water pump now is just loosely fitted. Yeah, everything. The upper radiator hose connectors and thermostat. It's got a new thermostat in it as well. But we're going to clean. I got the front of the motor cleaned up a little bit, so I'll just put this thing on now before I lift this engine and start doing the underneath stuff. I'm probably going to aim for about 20 to 25 foot-pounds on all the bolts here, and I think 2, maybe 4. I think the 4 bottom ones, I can't remember now. These guys were in the water jacket, so I'm going to put some thread sealant on those as well. And yeah, we should button the front end up, and then we'll just get ready for some slight painting and cleaning of the rest of this thing. But right now, there's plenty of cleanliness, I guess you could say, to get this thing back together. It's good enough, as my kids would put it. So we're just gonna do one more layer of prevention. I'm gonna put a little gasket sealant in here as well. I know some people scoff at the idea, but I think this stuff works out really well. This is the closest I ever get to being creative. So we should be more than good on this side. Come on, don't be that way.
All good.
So if you look inside the water pump, I'm not comfortable with this, but I'm sure it'll cause nothing. But if you see these little ridges right above my fingernail right there, that, yeah. And then there's another little nub sticking up there. These are the burrs from the machining, and you can really feel them. Super sharp. I'm sure they create a lot of turbulence. I'm sure there's a lot of turbulence in here anyway when this thing is spinning at 20,000, wherever the heck it spins at. But still, I don't like that. So I think I'm going to file that down. So at least that chamber. This one doesn't feel bad. And at least make that flow through there a little bit better. Okay, we're back. I got it cleaned up a little bit. So now we'll try to get this bad boy back in. And something like that. Get this thing hung. Boy, I tell you, chasing these threads just makes life so simple. Oh. You can run everything down with your fingertips. At some point, the effort pays off, right? Right? Come on, I need somebody to agree with me. Where is my favorite extension? Now these bottom four, then all I did is create a little cardboard template for everything, so I know exactly what length screw goes where. Put a little sealant on the end of these. Okay, we'll see what 20 foot-pounds looks like. See how I like the way that feels. And I'm just going to do cross pattern. Try to anyway. Feels good. A little more. Just a little. That might be enough. You may be asking why don't I put some of that seal on here? Well, this is a lot easier to access when it's in the car than the water pump is. So a little extra insurance for the part that is very difficult to get to. So I tightened the 3 top bolts here to 20 foot-pounds. Feels really good. The water pump was down to 20 foot-pounds. I'm doing the side or the thermostat housing to, I'm changing this up to going inch-pounds. I'm doing 120 inch-pounds, which should put it somewhere around 10 foot-pound. Take it back to 80. I think I'm going to stay at 80. That's about as tight as I want to get it. So anyway, this little torque wrench, it's like 35 bucks on Amazon. I love it. You can actually read the numbers. You can lock it in if you want to. Everything is serial numbered. It came with a certification, recency of accuracy date, everything on it. So for 35 bucks, why the heck not, you know? All right, water pump is installed. Done, done, yep, done. Good. I'll clean this up after I get the oil pan taken care of, but I am gonna have to degrease everything along the sides before I lift this thing up. And this side's nearly just as bad. So we'll go through and degrease this thing a little bit before we get it up on the lift and get it ready to go. Okay, so the last bit is done. Everything is torqued. Put the wheel on. I'll probably end up having to take that off again just because, you know, that's the way this business works. Put my tube and my new hose on. Everything is torqued down. Very happy with everything so far. And I still want to clean this off with the wire wheel. But other than that, the next thing I'm going to do is just finish degreasing. I scraped a lot of the heavy crap off already, but we'll finish degreasing this with some brake cleaner. And then we'll drop the pan, put the gasket on the pan, and then I want to do the rear main seal next. Get all those off. I know those are bolts that have got to get sealed as well. So we'll use some sealer on those, but we'll finish cleaning this thing up and get it ready. I'm dying to put the intake back where it belongs. So here's my setup to get to my oil pan. Pretty legit. I think we're going to be perfectly fine. I do have to take the harmonic balancer off because I have a feeling my dipstick tube is going to get in the way of it. So all the bolts are off on the oil pan. So next step is to get the harmonic balancer off and drop the pan. Everything should be out of the way. Well, I regret not getting this going sooner, but it already started to separate. So we're just going to go up with it a little further. This thing just fell on its own. All right, I'm going to get it up and clear of the pickup tube. Actually, it would just slide out, and I had to clear the pickup tube, so we'll do that right now. There we go. Now, what to do with you? There's no screen on it. That's interesting. But I'll get you in here in a second with a light, and we'll go look underneath. First, not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. of sludge. There's not much sludge in there either. Definitely see some glitter, but I would expect that after all these years. And we'll go underneath. Casting number 491, I guess. I don't know. There she is, the innards. And a lot of dirt and grease. Well, it's nice to see there's still oil hanging off of things. No filter in the pickup tube. That's weird. Well, I think I'm going to clean this sucker up, put the pan back in, and get her back together, put her back on her home. So, nice. Let's see what it looks like. Really clean oil, it should be. It only had like 1,000 miles, no, like 300 miles on it maybe. There's some goop, okay. X marks the spot for the sludge. Yeah, she's in there. You can see the dark oil, the sludge oil in there mixed with the clear fresh oil. That's so cool. That would make an awesome bar top. Anyway, I digress. Well, once again, I went a little too far in the cleaning of things. This was disgusting. As you can see, some of the remnants down here on the ground, but I got up underneath the backside of the oil pan, all of that in there. And I went back to the front of the engine since I got that stuff off. And I decided to clean a lot of that stuff off. And, well, you can see this is going to be one of those good enoughs. However, this good enough has taken me probably most of the day. I did put a new front main seal in as well. The oil pan mounting surface on the block is prepped. Everything looks great, nice and smooth. The oil pan itself, I am just simply putting a little bit of color on the dipstick tube. The pan itself came out really nice. I'll show you that here when I get it put back together, and I think I'm gonna drag my feet on that until tomorrow. So anyway, this is gonna be the end for today as well. And that is just still sitting there waiting for me to get back to it. Man, I've made a mess. The floor, you can't see the stuff, but there are flakes all over this place. It's that greasy stuff where you step on it and it follows you around for the next couple of hours. As you can see, yuck. So anyway, yeah, I know, I sliced my finger open once again. Yippee-ki-yay. So until tomorrow, I think that is ta-ta for now. So it's a new day. I just finished prepping the base for the gasket on the motor. And now we're back over here, a little bit different. Boy, there was a lot of sludge in there. I mean, there's an amazing amount of sludge, honestly. There's baffles. I got one on this side, and I think there's two over on this left side. Maybe one. But anyway, full capacity is back. No more sludge buildup. I went through and tapped all of the little fasteners for the various, I think it's for the AC. I can't remember what those are for over here, but these two get tapped also. Surface is prepped, brake cleaned. I'll do it one more time. I'll prep the other side. I'm gonna put some of my gasket adhesion on here before I put the gasket on. And then we'll mount this thing together and get the bottom end put back in. But first, I gotta clean those. Let's see what Auto House sent me. Victor. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe this is the one that they used OE, because it looks perfect. It's a very thin gasket, and I got to tell you, it was a pain in the ass to get the old one off. Very slow process. So a lot of those. But be careful with those, because they will mar up your aluminum surface pretty easy. And that is the Permatex I'm going to be using. Just a high temp sealant. So let's get this thing installed and put it on the car. Roar. Just want to get a look up inside. Looks nice. New main is in. I don't like having this up in the air like that for long. So I'm going to put the pan back on. So I'm not going to lie. After I put that oil pan back on, this is where it's been sitting for probably 2 months. I got wrapped up with a lot of other things. So I think today I want to get to doing the intake, getting it back installed correctly. The manifold is just kind of sitting there. Nothing is connected. Nothing is sorted out yet. Everything is clean and ready to go back together. Pressure plate should still be nice. Yeah, see that? Like that. Anyway, get this thing sorted out, at least the intake bolted into place. So here's my template I had for where all the screws were supposed to go back to. I quickly since it was just sitting in place, I just took it off, looked to make sure everything was still cleaned out underneath, and then I reinstalled it. Being careful to make sure you get the rear of it in first, underneath the water line here, and that you're below this valve here, this vacuum adapter here, to make sure you get the EGR system put back into place. And then when you put it down, just be gentle, nice and smooth and easy. And now all I'm going to do is just put all these bolts back in and snug everything down. Pretty simple so far. Okay, so all of the intake manifold bolts are all torqued. Interesting how they do some of the things here. Like, these are 2 separate pieces and they just pinch it together with 1 bolt. So you got to watch for little things like that. And they kind of did that over here as well. In order to get to some of these, of course, the fuel pressure regulator's got to be out of the way, because there's bolts buried underneath that. And there's bolts underneath this new hose that I put in as well. There's actually a bolt under the head under here, so you got to remove the cold start injector, or the cold start assembly as well, just to get to that one. But all in all, came out pretty decent. She should be ready to run, not too distant future.